I recently saw A Complete Unknown. This is the new James Mangold biopic, which is about Bob Dylan. James Mangold directed this. Timothée Chalamet stars as Bob Dylan. Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro, and Edward Norton appear in supporting roles. And I really, in a pleasant surprise, I enjoyed this movie. I am not a fan of musical biopics. I think they can be done very inventively in ways that, it change what you think a musical biopic should be. Bohemian Rhapsody, as of, in the past 10 years, seems to be this shining example, not really how not to make a blockbuster. It was very popular. It was nominated for tons of awards, but it seemed to be the most basic, example of that. And I'm going to be honest, I never fully saw that movie. I watched lots of scenes from it. I worked in a movie theater when it came out. I was always trying to watch it. I watched every movie that year that was up for Best Picture, except for that movie fully. I need to rewatch that movie. So I think I can't really fairly say, bring up Bohemian Rhapsody. But I think in general, the musical biopic genre seems to be very, very set in stone. Everyone kind of knows how those movies go. It starts with a singer who wants to set out to make something new. They often face conflict. Either their parents or their manager or their original band partners or friends tell them you're not going to be able to do this. They prove them wrong. They do it. There's struggle, love, hardships along the way, and then eventually they go on to, get great success, maybe tragedy, but there's great success. Elvis was a movie that I saw the whole movie. I saw that in early access screenings in RPX, not IMAX, at the Regal, and I did, like what Elvis was setting out to do, but it wasn't a great movie at all. That was very much just song after song. It was so stylish, but, the plot, really said nothing to me. I liked Priscilla a lot more, even though they were totally different movies. Priscilla just was a more grounded character piece, where Elvis was just like, here's a cool song. Here, it was like a music video. It was like a 159-minute music video. Just like as a movie, it was not that great. I didn't really get to learn a lot about Elvis. But let's not talk about Elvis. Let's talk about A Complete Unknown. What I like about A Complete Unknown, though, and we can compare it to Elvis, is this is a real movie featuring music by Bob Dylan. But I think as a biopic, what makes it so great to me is that it really feels like a grounded drama, and it has romance elements. The central theme here seems to be a love triangle. I like movies that are slice of life movies. Like everyone, says this. They say like A24, when they put out a movie, I'll watch it. They make all sorts of movies, but my favorite movies that A24 makes out are those just slice of life movies. And I mean, a good example could be like crime films like Uncut Gems or Good Time from the Safdie brothers, but also just, day in the life movies where you're just following people. Like Past Lives is a romance, but it's about a woman in New York finding romance or reconnecting with someone she loved. I think that A Complete Unknown is great because it is about real people with real issues, and they're united by music. It's a romance in the sense that it's about this complete unknown character, Timothée Chalamet's Bob Dylan, who arrives in New York, and you get to see that he's really into music. He shows up at the hospital where Woody Guthrie is staying because he sees this in a newspaper, and he wants to play him a song, and Pete Seeger is there visiting, who's played by Edward Norton. He hears what a talent this guy is, and he, discovers him and gets him to play and gets him to perform. And from that moment, they develop a friendship. But you see, Bob Dylan isn't really about being famous. He isn't about, having lots of friends. He kind of just likes making the music. And then with fame and with success comes girls, comes romances, and it kind of just takes over his life. But I love this movie for many reasons. The story itself could have been a very cheesy musical biopic, but the way it's edited, the way it's shot, paced, and again, the casting is really good. I just love how it is very much a day in the life. You're following this guy through the 60s mostly. It doesn't track his entire life, which would be a long time. He's still alive. He's 90. I think this movie, by setting itself in the 60s during this short period of time from, I believe, 1961 to 1965, that's a smart move, and that's why I like this movie, because it's not so grand. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it is, small scale, and that's really what I think this movie does great. You're following Bob Dylan as he's making songs, as he's falling in love, as he's, learning to be in a relationship, and, he has a girlfriend and then he falls in love with another singer, and you're able to see that. And someone pointed this out to me that, this movie is almost like a concert film. You're watching these characters as they perform these songs, as the people who love them are there watching them. You see his girlfriend Sylvie, who's played by Elle Fanning, is at many of his concerts. And then he's performing with Joan Baez, who's played by Monica Barbaro. And the three of them have this love triangle dynamic that's really, I think the most interesting thing here, because you're watching them as they're, as Elle Fanning's watching Joan Baez and Bob Dylan perform. You're watching Sylvie react to this. You're seeing Pete Seeger react to, Bob Dylan and like what a great performer he is. It's such not a traditional biopic in that it doesn't, spell everything out for you. It's kind of just showing you this is how they saw each other. This is how the music, when it was first heard, was, this is how people reacted to it. In Elvis, it's so flashy and so over the top. Very much the opposite. It's almost telling you how to feel. Like, in Elvis, they're showing so many close-ups and reactions of all the different people in the audience. Everyone's like in love with him. It's a very different filmmaking style too. Baz Luhrmann is very over the top. James Mangold's very much, keeping it laid back. And again, this is more, to me, I don't like to think of it as a biopic. It's more a historical drama with romance elements. It is a biopic, but it was really well done. And I saw it in IMAX. I saw it on an IMAX screen, which just helped at making this movie feel very lived. And I also like that it's a New York movie. They shot all of this, or most of it, in New York City. And I remember when they were filming it because they were filming on 23rd Street at night. And I actually saw the set a couple of times, which was really cool because they spent so much effort to make everything look like the 60s. And it really does pay off. There's a lot of cars that are 60s period cars. They shoot in a lot of areas with old buildings. It's very satisfying, and it does come full circle. I think, again, the biggest strength this movie has going for it is it is not a full-life biopic of Bob Dylan. It shows a very important period in his life where he was becoming big. It was showing how, he was in a relationship, but also didn't know how to communicate with these girls, even with his manager, with Pete Seeger, who really, wants him to succeed, but they both want different things. It's just so interesting at showing how times are changing, how the culture is changing. And I think for a biopic, it does a really good job at being subdued, but also giving you those musical scenes that aren't forced. They're at a concert or they're recording and the movie shows the whole scene. You don't, there's not a ton of cuts or cutting around to it feels very natural in that way. I think Bohemian Rhapsody, for example, or Elvis, it does makes such an effort to show you all this flashy shots, all these lights and cool camera angles. This movie doesn't have that, but it really doesn't need that. It's a very clean, very effective, just historical drama. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. Like, I'm not a fan of biopics, especially musical. Mostly just musical biopics don't work because of how they introduce, music. And I liked Rocket Man, for example, but I wasn't like a huge fan of it. I wouldn't rewatch it, but I did like that movie. It was very inventive. This movie is similar, but it's not fully similar, just in how it plays with music. And it lets you experience the songs like when they're coming out. You're experiencing it how Bob Dylan did or how the audience did. They're at a festival and they're hearing this music. And it's just a very immersive movie that takes its time. It has really great casting. I really just liked the atmosphere of the movie. It's a movie that I'm able to, sit in for 2 hours, 20 minutes and feel like I'm there. So for a movie, it's really good. I liked it more than Elvis. I liked it more than, from what I saw, Bohemian Rhapsody. I really need to rewatch Rocket Man. It's been a while, but I thought, they're completely different movies. For what it is now in my current mindset, I liked it more than Rocket Man. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think of A Complete Unknown, though. It makes a musical biopic very interesting to me. And what could just be a very cut and dry cliche story, it takes its time. It explains things in a way that feels like a story should. Not that it's just explaining facts, to lay out like this was what the biography said. Let's get it all in. No, it takes its time. It's a very well-crafted film. Much better than James Mangold's Ford vs. Ferrari or Indiana Jones. I liked this a lot better than both of those. So let me know what you guys think. And thank you so much for watching this review.